I'm Bill Beckham, founder of Franchise Clarity. When you start exploring franchise ownership, you'll hear a lot of success stories. The top performing owner who's expanding to new territories, or the couple who left corporate and never looked back. They sound inspiring, but there's a problem most people miss. Those stories represent the survivors, and survivorship bias can completely distort your perception of what's typical in franchising. Survivorship bias happens when we focus only on the people who made it and ignore those who didn't. In franchising, that means you'll hear from owners still in business, not the ones who quietly closed, sold at a loss, or went into arbitration. The franchisor's marketing team highlights the wins, and brokers tell stories that close deals. But you rarely hear from the franchisees who followed the playbook and still struggled. It's like studying only the companies that survived the dot-com crash and concluding that every startup in 1999 was a brilliant idea. This bias affects your judgment in subtle ways. When you hear that most owners are profitable by year two, your brain fills in the blanks, assuming the few examples you see represent the entire system. But in many brands, those examples are the top quartile. The middle performers might be breaking even, and the bottom quartile could be losing money. The franchise disclosure document might show a handful of financials that look solid, but it doesn't tell you how many units quietly failed or how much additional capital was required to survive those first few years. When you rely on success stories without context, you end up comparing yourself to an outlier, not a norm. The danger isn't just analytical, it's emotional. Success stories create urgency and confidence. You think, if they did it, I can too. And that optimism is exactly what the sales process is designed to trigger. Franchisors know that people buy emotionally and justify logically. So they lead with testimonials, not balance sheets. But due diligence requires flipping that order. Start with the numbers, validate the economics, then test whether the story holds up under scrutiny. Survivorship bias hides the middle of the curve, the ordinary results that tell you what's actually typical. To correct for it, you don't need a PhD in statistics, but you do need to be intentional about where you look for truth. Ask for the distribution, not the average. Don't settle for a single number in item 19. Ask, what's the range of outcomes? Averages can mask wide variation. Cross-check what you're told with what's in item 21, the franchisor's audited financial statements. If the system-wide royalties in item 21 don't align with the rosy picture in item 19, that's a sign the average you're seeing reflects survivors, not the full system. Talk to former owners. They complete the data set you'll never find in a brochure. Former franchisees help you see the exits, the break evens, and the quiet struggles that never make it into marketing decks. Their stories help you rebalance the sample so you're not just hearing from the winners. Model probability adjusted outcomes. Once you know there's a range, treat it like an investor would. Assign reasonable probabilities to high, mid, and low cases, factoring in closures from item 20 and insights from those conversations. That turns a single optimistic projection into a risk-adjusted view, a picture that reflects both the potential and the odds of achieving it. The goal isn't to predict the future, rather, it's to re-anchor your analysis in reality. Survivorship bias inflates confidence by deleting data. Rebuilding that data, even with rough estimates, brings discipline back to the decision. Franchise success stories aren't lies, they're just incomplete. Most people only see the winners, not the full distribution of outcomes. Survivorship bias makes you believe the odds of success are higher than they really are. And that's exactly how good people get blindsided. When you slow down and rebuild the data, comparing what's in item 19 to what's buried in item 21, talking to former owners, and modeling probability adjusted outcomes, you start to see the full picture. That's when confidence becomes clarity. At Franchise Clarity, that's what I help executives do: cut through the noise, expose the missing data, and make franchise decisions with the same rigor that guided their corporate careers. If you'd like to see how to apply this approach before you invest, visit franchiseclarity.net or grab time on my calendar. I'm Bill Beckham. Thanks for watching, and remember, in franchising, clarity beats confidence every time.